Tonight on the Tuesday edition of the Buddy Martin Show. We talk a myriad of things such as Gator basketball, the college football playoff national championship game. What do the Gators need to do going forward before spring ball starts? And the lack of no coaching carousel in the SEC. All that and more on Tell It Like It Is Tuesday with Rob Brown of SEC Sideline Sports, Brendan Martin of GatorBaitMedia.com, and yours truly, Lauren Meadows, on the Tuesday night edition of the Buddy Martin Show. Hit that like and subscribe button.
Let's go.
Yes, it's time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye.
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Good evening and welcome to the Tuesday night edition of the Buddy Martin Show. I'm your host, Lauren Meadows. I'm joined by Rob Brown of SEC Sidelines and Brendan Martin of GatorBaitMedia.com. Tonight, a lot of things going on. Big night in SEC basketball. Florida Gators getting set to take on Missouri. I think they just tipped off. Happy pregnancy to the Tebow family. Some news going on. We got the college football playoff national championship game. And then now the offseason is pretty much in full swing for the Gators. Students back on campus, winter workouts starting this week. And then, next thing around the corner is spring football. So what do the Gators need to do? And for the first time in quite some time, there's no coaching carousel in the SEC. All 16 SEC teams so far stand pat at the head coaching position, but will there be staff changes for the Gators and maybe others going forward? So with that, we bring in Rob Brown, Brendan Martin. How you guys doing?
Doing great. Let's see.
He's chopping wood.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to get that sideline. Logo in the back.
Right.
I can't remember a year with no coaching changes in football.
I mean, at least in the SEC. The SEC is the only Power 5 conference to not have any head coaching changes this season, the only one. So of the Power 5, 4, the SEC is the only conference where all 16 head coaches, at least at this time, will remain. And Rob, as you know, usually by this time, if you hadn't heard anything, you get to keep your job for another year.
Well, that's true. And I also think with that House settlement hanging over the heads of every athletic department in America, like the sword of Damocles, nobody's going to do it because that's a $21 million surcharge on top of whatever buyout that you have. And so I don't think where are the coaches that are out there? I mean, everybody talks about Dan Lanning. They talk about there's a few of them. But I think this is going to be more normal going forward.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it. I mean, really, I think did all but Mississippi State made a bowl game. Correct me if I'm wrong, right? So all but Mississippi State. Excuse me, another school.
The Auburn Tigers did not make it.
That's messed up, man. That's messed up.
As I sit in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, in enemy territory, but
fired.
But I mean, when you look at Auburn, Mississippi State obviously did not have the seasons they were expecting. Obviously, Jeff Lebby in his first year, cleaning house, had a lot of different people. I know they had a pretty good corner that was there. He left and went to Texas Tech. I think his name is Bryce Popper or something like that. He transferred from from Mississippi State. So there's going to be a lot of changes in what they do as a team going forward. And I guess, you would know more than I would, Rob. Hugh Freeze survived to live another year, probably on the strength of a really good recruiting class. So, like you said, I mean, and everybody else kind of, Billy Napier obviously was able to, handle his business the last month of the season, get himself squared away at least for another year, which kind of leads us to this, and we'll talk about this a little further, but, where Billy Napier is now and being able to save his job, or maybe, early in the season, 5-6 weeks into the season, we were hearing that the next loss was the next loss will be the last loss, and he would be relieved of duties. You had all these things going on, but like you said, you have that House bill hanging out there. So, is this the norm? And maybe what does, looking before we get into spring ball or anything like that, what does a guy like Billy Napier or even like a Hugh Freeze, what do they have to do to last into the 2026 season?
Win 9 games. I mean, 9 or 10, I think. But both of them have talented rosters. I mean, Florida's got a top 10 talented roster. Auburn has made up a lot of ground real quick. So that's what I think both of them have to do. But I think the days of just firing them at will are going to be paused for a while, because with NIL collectives and all, and what those have to be, there's just so much involved. So I think this is where we are. The SEC just needs great quarterback play. It's a different, and we need better offensive line play. And if you're moving coaches around right now, it just makes the situation worse.
Yeah, well, no doubt. And we talk about quarterback position, and, for instance, Florida seems pretty entrenched at the quarterback position. Just tonight, DJ Lagway, earlier today, DJ Lagway was named to the Football Writers Association of America all freshman team, another honor for him. He's right there in the mix for Heisman odds and things like that. And I think his presence and obviously his play is one of the things that at least gave Billy Napier, maybe a safety net as you continue to move into the offseason. Everybody's really excited about what could happen offensively.
Yeah.
With DJ Lagway, will there be a different play caller? What could happen, where the defense could go, who they will replace Austin Armstrong with, and so on. And, we should hear something in the next few days. But, Brendan, are you changing your tune on Napier, or are you still kind of wait and see mode?
Oh, I am definitely in wait and see mode now. I mean, I'm wondering I'm kind of just wondering what's going on here with some of these moves here and what's happening. Like, you asked me what Florida Gators I need to be successful next year, offensive coordinator. And I've been saying that for over a year. So, and I'm stand by it. I think he's just Billy a great play caller. Sure, I think he's a great play caller, but he's not the offensive coordinator. So right now I'm just sort of, again, I'm not pointing the finger of criticism, because there's nothing to criticize at this point. It's just that, okay, well, this is his way. So, right now his way has gotten him here. So I give him credit for that. He certainly has changed the trajectory of the team since when it started. And, he gets all that credit. Absolutely. 100% does. And as a Gator fan, I'm excited for next year, but I'd be more excited if we were talking to his offensive coordinator about what kind of offense they were going to kind of run and getting ready to install that in the spring. I'd be more excited about that. But I'm being impatient. But am I? I don't know. So I think he's going to get somebody else. I thought they were better defensively. So, but I think, the need for, once he got rid of Austin Armstrong, you got to replace that. I understand. So I guess, again, here we are off season looking at coaching, big key coaching positions that matter on what kind of offensive and defense you run. And I agree 100% with Rob. I think the SEC needs to get bigger and continue to have any sort of dominance. They're going to have to claim the line of scrimmage again. I think other teams figured them out. I think the SEC got a little lazy in a sense of, hey, go get a great defense, get a bunch of big dudes up front, and get a bunch of speed on the edge, and a great quarter. And sure, and that's any team. Obviously, that's a recipe for success, no question. I just think right now the SEC has got all the resources and all of everything to be better, and I think they should not rest on their laurels. And I think we're going to see next year a lot more from technology, from schools, we're going to see changes potentially, and I don't know this year in collectives, how monies work. So I think again, it's going to be the best team that takes advantage of the situation being with NIL, transfer portal, the rules of the road. At the same time, can keep guys from running out the back door for a better paycheck. Listening to professional players the other day talk about how there are guys in college making a lot more money than them, wish they had another year to stay eligible to go back to college. So I think there's a lot of interesting storylines with all of that. But as far as what the SEC needs to do to get better is, my last point of that is to say that they need to quit underestimating schools outside the SEC, because I think it's time to start valuing and realizing there's a lot more parity with transfer portal, NIL, and everything else, and you cannot undervalue anybody anymore as an opponent.
Right. Well, I think I think when you talk about the SEC as a whole, I think because of the transfer portal and NIL, this whole collective that we want to term the SEC, I'm gonna call a death knell on that, Rob, and you can back me up on this. I don't think it's any more the collective SEC, because I think each school is going to attack the problem in different ways. This collective, it just means more. I think that's going by the wayside, because each school is going to identify their need, particularly in this NIL space, so in a microcosm, so individual, outside of the whole way. Obviously, like you said, Brendan, schematically, the game is played in the trenches. That's the way the SEC has made their money and made their bones for the last 20 years. But I think, when you talk about what did the SEC do, I think it comes down to, okay, what does Florida need to do? What does Ole Miss need to do? What does Auburn need to do? And I don't think you're going to have, I think you're going to see, I don't think you're ever going to see a dominance of one conference over a 10 to 15 year period anymore, because of the transfer portal and the ability for guys to move and groove the way that they want to, go get a bigger bag, or, go where their girlfriend is in a lot of cases, and I just don't think you're ever going to see that. I think that's one part of the landscape that, as much as we don't want to admit it, has removed itself from the big picture, Rob.
All right, here's where I think we're going to go to. You're going to start seeing $4 and $5 million coordinators, all right, because it costs a lot of money. Let's say Florida were to get rid of Billy Napier. You got to pay off him, his buyout, all of his staff and their contracts. Then you got to pay the buyout for the coaching staff that you're going after, or the coaches that you're going after. So it behooves these schools in the SEC across the country to start saying, all right, Billy, here's what we're going to do. You're going to keep your damn job, $8-10 million a year salary, whatever it is, for stability purposes. But you go get you a coordinator. And then what you do with that coordinator is you let the current coaches on the offensive staff interview that offensive coordinator. That's the smart thing to do. Don't just force him on them, because if it's a bad fit, it's a bad fit for everybody. So you got to be careful with that. So I think you're going to start seeing a lot of maneuvering and posturing financially in ways we haven't seen before, because the House settlement in April, we'll find out if it's definitely going through. We don't know. But remember, the only laws that the NCAA have to worry about are antitrust laws. That's the Sherman antitrust laws. That's that congressman from Ohio that put those in to try to stop oligarchies and monopolies and all. But remember, our Constitution says it loud and proud. Patrick Henry, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. You can't infringe on someone's right to make a living,
Mhm.
but the SEC, I'm with Brendan, got fat and happy and lazy and complacent. And now they've been challenged, and it's time to fight back. Texas carried the SEC further than anybody this year. And Sarkisian's going to get hit up by the NFL. That's coming. He's going to be offered a lot of money. They're going to go after Marcus Freeman. How long is Kirby going to put up with this crap? I
Not
give
long.
another year or two. Kirby's out.
Yeah.
Because you know why? In Memphis, we all know what Jimmy Sexton does. He's telling Kirby, hey, man, I got Nick Saban making some good money doing these commercials with the Duck and Dion. That's something we better watch out for. These coaches saying, screw this, I'm going to go do commercials. Look at Chip Kelly.
I was just
Look
going
at
to
him.
I was just going to say that, Rob, the coordinators, Chip Kelly's deal over what, 3 or 4 years, $6.2 million.
Yeah.
Not
He's
bad.
getting paid like a head coach.
Yeah.
And on another note, I want to just break in, not to come away from that point, but just to throw something out to our listeners. Ole Miss just defeated Alabama.
Wow. Dan
Wow.
Bond.
Up the road, about 20 minutes up the road there in Tuscaloosa or Leeds, or did they Leeds? I don't know if they beat them 74-60. Florida was down 12-9. I have to check the score again, but in that game, Walter Clayton passed Lee Humphrey for, I think, number 2 all time in consecutive made threes. So I think he trails now Michael Frazier for consecutive made threes by about 2 games. So he could get that in the next couple of weeks and break the record for most consecutive games with a 3-pointer made at Florida. So, congrats to Clayton for passing a great, like Lee Humphrey, 2-time national champ. So, obviously Clayton, a fan favorite. So, but yeah, I mean, you talk about, I think, and I think that's where we're going. And it brings back to what you said, Rob, was, you got Chip Kelly making, 16, and now Florida down 17-14 early at home versus Missouri,
They
Gator
kicked the
fan.
field goal.
Yeah, don't worry about that. That'll get erased here soon, but I would guarantee. But and we'll get to basketball a little bit more deep here in a second. But to kind of put a bow on it, like you said, Chip Kelly getting paid like a head coach to coach at Ohio State, coaching with his buddy Ryan Day. Chip Kelly's like an uncle to him. You're going to see those kind of things, and it brings us back to the offensive coordinator, Brendan. There's 2 things. There's a timetable involved, and I think Florida fans need to understand that. If this thing is not in the works by the 1st of February or the second week of February, once again, it ain't happening, because you're going through installs and all those things. You're teaching the offense and what you want to get accomplished in spring ball. And the other thing is, when you throw names out there, and Rob, you know this, these are going to be names that are necessarily not household names.
Mm-hmm.
They're names that coaches know. But there's not going to be these, people wanted like a Charlie Strong as defensive coordinator. Those guys are past and gone. These are going to be names that guys that maybe have been analysts somewhere, or maybe a former head coach. But it's not going to be the names that people are going to expect to hear. You're going to have to get into your book a little bit and research these guys. Not to say they won't do a great job, but it's going to be names that, I think people are waiting on this splash hire like a Chip Kelly. Those are few and far between, but there are some good coaches that could come in and call plays, but it will not be these hot masterminds that they think are going to beat down the door to come to Florida or even other places.
Well, I don't think Billy wants that. I think, that I clearly he maybe he does or doesn't. He just never seemed like that's what he wants. He wants control. He likes that kind of thing. And look, I'm done trying to rip the guy. I'm just saying he just seems like he wants more of this, team player, who's less of a bigger personality. And I get that. Look, more power to you. Obviously, you got it going your way. Again, I'm not going to knock it. Not my sort of way, but I'm sort of humbled after this year. I don't know about you all, but I think I've learned to just say, hey, it's a whole lot of wait and see on everybody.
Mhm.
because I've seen Vanderbilt be good and Alabama be bad, and dogs and cats living together, fire and brimstone falling from the sky. I mean, I've seen it all this year, so I
Well,
just
let
think
me
we'll see.
go ahead. Yeah, and the other thing is, and here's my thing, and maybe you correct me if I'm wrong. And Brendan, I think you and I maybe share this sentiment. It's not that Napier or any head coach may or may not be able to call their own plays. It's the fact that there is so much that goes on during a football game that as a head coach, I think you need to be in control of and on top of. That's my thing. I don't have a problem with what the Gators do schematically. I think plays look good. I'll give you a perfect example. They ran that kind of mix. I call it a mixed pitch play where you look like you run and dive and you flip it to the back. The one Jaden Ball took 50 yards against LSU. They ran that exact same play out of three different formations the next three games. They ran against Ole Miss, they ran against Florida State, and they ran against Tulane.
Mm-hmm.
And it was out of a different look. So it goes back to how you call things when you call them. Obviously, it didn't go for 50 yards like it did against LSU, but there is some creativity. The problem is that there are things that go on during a game that you have to just be in charge of as a head coach. And I just think it's hard to get in there, Rob, and be the primary play caller, talking to you, where you're really you're the quarterback coach, even though he has Ron O'Hara kind of in between series. But Billy deals with those guys a lot. And I think that that's one of the things that when we look at this quote unquote coaching carousel that'll really jump open after next Monday, it's just going to be interesting.
You know what we haven't talked about? The coaches' conventions going on in Charlotte. They voted to make the transfer portal January 2nd to January 12th. Now, they're going to have to be, I'm sure other people will get involved, university presidents, I don't know, athletic directors, whatever. But that's a good start, guys. We're going to now, if people are honest, and we're going to hurt some people's feelings here, but I don't really care. Most of the guys that are leaving your school in the portal, you're not going to miss them. Okay? I'm old enough to remember when you got cut from the damn team and a damn thing you can do about it except toughen up and go fight, keep fighting, keep trying. Michael Jordan got cut when he was a freshman or sophomore in high school. MJ came back. So I think the portal is not as bad as we think it is, because it's giving guys an option, and half of them don't get picked up by anybody anyway. I know you got to say something about one of your awesome sponsors. Let's do it.
Oh, no, you go ahead, Rob.
No, I saw. Okay. But I'm just saying, I think that's where we're going. But again, when it comes to Florida, it's cool because y'all see things of Auburn or other schools that I can't maybe. And I can see things about Florida maybe that y'all can't. But I've stood by my ground from back in August that Gators would win 8 games. They took a rather circuitous route to get there this year. Okay. But they did it. But you have to understand, if you're a Tennessee fan, or if you're Alabama, if you're, Georgia, Auburn, LSU, you look at Florida a lot differently than Florida people do. That is a badass brand. It is a mega brand that I just, when Florida's not winning, that's kind of like, what's wrong with the rice crop in Arkansas? It's just should always win. And they're doing it. And look at the damn basketball, kind of a rough start tonight, but long way to go.
Yeah. Speaking of, we'll get to basketball after we talk about our sponsor, Meldon Law, proven and skilled injury lawyer since 1971, the only official accident law firm of the Florida Gators. We talked about basketball starting, gymnastics. Meldon Law has done a lot in the community, but they also offer, if you follow their Facebook page and their Instagram page, they give away a lot of tickets to events, different things like that. You get to meet Mr. Meldon and his crew when you go to some of those things. You can hit that QR code if you have an issue, with an accident or any other type of law question. If they can't answer it, they will get you to somebody that can help you with that. But Meldon Law, the Florida Gators official law firm partner. They won't back down. And we talk about Auburn a little bit, Rob, and while we stay on the basketball take a little bit of a scare for the Auburn Tigers this past weekend. National Player of the Year frontrunner Janai Broome went out the game with an ankle injury down there in Austin when they were playing in Texas early in the game. Auburn obviously was able to pull it out. Looks like they're playing pretty well again tonight without him. But have you heard any prognosis on him, Rob, and what maybe a time for his return?
Well, he got hurt in the South Carolina game. And
That's right. I'm sorry, not Texas.
Yeah.
South,
and if
I'm
you
sorry.
remember February 17th of 2018, Anthony McLemore broke his ankle under the goalpost, under the rim in Columbia. Man, very football centric minds.
Yeah, no doubt.
Rich Kieran's
But you know where Janai Broome is from, don't you?
No, I don't. I'm not
I
familiar.
bet you do.
Plant City, Florida.
Ah, yes.
One of my clients called me who lives in Spring Hill, Florida, about 46-mile bike ride north of Tampa, because he rides it on the Green Line. We were talking about that, but I think his prognosis is it's an ankle injury. It's just every day he's doing rehab, and he's doing the rehab. I mean, a lot of guys don't do it, but I'm saying next couple of weeks he comes back. But I think Auburn tonight, Mississippi State, Chris Jans, good coach. Auburn got to win 88-66. Ron Slay was calling that game on SEC Network. Ron will be our leadoff guest in the morning on Sidelines with Brendan and me. Ron Slay will be on. He is going to be driving back from Auburn to Nashville where he lives. He's from Memphis, former SEC Player of the Year. I really like. You like Ron? I love him.
Ron does a great job on the SEC Network, breaking things down.
God,
obviously he's a Tennessee guy, so we won't hold that against him. But obviously, former SEC Player of the Year. Ron had a smooth stroke. He could shoot it. They got some. If they play 2-on-2 with him and Damian Fishback, Ron Slay and Fishback. I mean, you talk about two guys that can really fill it out. But as we talk about basketball, Florida trailing Missouri right now at home with about 10 minutes left in the first half, 30-18. But when you look at the SEC, and like I said just a minute ago,
33-18.
Oh, 33-18. So you have Alabama, who at home, we talked about the other day, you better win your games at home because going into someone else's gym and getting a win is going to be pretty tough. Now, Missouri could call me a liar here in a little while, but you see a school like Ole Miss, 21st ranked team, going in, getting a top 5 win in Tuscaloosa. It brings back to what we were talking about last week after the Tennessee game. I mean, the buzzsaw that is the SEC. I mean, the Florida Gators were lucky enough to get out of Fayetteville with a win this past weekend. But, I mean, it just speaks to, once again, the axe grinder that we talked about last week with this SEC.
Well, I will say this too. Patrick Young, I'd love to get him on the show sometime. Y'all know him. I think he's fantastic. He and Damian are doing that. He and Damian are in studio tonight. Fishback out of Bowling Green, KY. But, you look at Cal at Arkansas. Living in Memphis, when Cal got there, his first 4 or 5 years, oh, my God, the criticism was so loud. And then they won the NIT, and then they started winning really big. He'll get Arkansas going, but they're slowing down to get faster. That's where they are right now. But top to bottom, Lauren and Brendan, SEC basketball, is it harder? You got to hold serve at home and win 5 or 6 on the road. I think the SEC champion this year is 13-5 or 14-4.
Yeah. And
Is that good of a league?
Yeah, I was saying even. Yeah, I mean, you could even have. Yeah, I was saying 12-5 even.
12-5. Yeah.
Yeah, just.
You play 18 games.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Excuse me. So 12. I was saying 12-6, 13. Yeah, 13-5.
13-5, 12-6.
But yeah. I mean, it's just so tough. Like you see, I mean, Ole Miss comes here to Tuscaloosa, where I'm at now, and gets a big win. Alabama fought back. I think cut it to 4 with about 6 minutes left, and then they fought back and and did their thing and got the win. But yeah, I mean, it just speaks to the talent. And I think once again, you look at how Florida is constructed. You
Yeah.
look at a lot of different programs, Arkansas, Auburn in some ways. Even though Bruce Pearl has really recruited well, Tennessee. I mean, this transfer portal, it's almost like where the ACC was, because it's pretty much Duke and nobody else in the ACC right now. And then you
What?
see the SEC that is loaded. I'm telling you, I think it's the ability to go grab a kid that matured in 1 to 2 years at a place like Iona, or a place like a Liberty, or some of these places. I can't remember what's school in Nashville. Help me out, Rob.
David Lipscomb. David
Lipscomb.
Lipscomb.
No, the other where
Belmont. Belmont.
correct. Yes, where oh God, I'm drawing a blank. But anyway, one of Florida's other guards came.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm drawing a blank. I'm going all over the place. My point is,
That guy.
yeah, that guy,
That one guy.
Will Richard.
Yeah,
There
you
go.
know the guy.
Yeah, Will
You know
Richard.
the thing.
Yeah, the
That
guy
one-
that shoots. That guy that does the
Yeah,
dunk.
that guy.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway,
He wears those shoes.
Yeah, you wear some shoes. But now you see those guys coming back home, coming nearby. You take a guy like Walter Clayton, was at Iona, looked at going to St. John's, but decided to come home from Polk County guy, comes to Florida.
Winter Haven.
And you see those guys that, now they take a team, and those guys that would normally go to Carolina, Duke, different places, they're coming to the SEC. SEC doing a great job with NIL in that space. And here we are with by far maybe the best the SEC has been in the history of college basketball.
Well, you say this question and it's asked. Brendan and I will ask it. You'll ask it. We all will. You answer your own question. What happened to the ACC? Well, the SEC happened to the ACC. The kids in the deep South that were leaving and going to the ACC schools aren't doing it anymore.
Right.
You look at the guys out of Alabama that used to go up to Kentucky. They ain't happening anymore.
Right.
Just Todd Golden. God almighty. You got a guy in Winter Haven in Polk County?
Yeah, it's over there.
Yeah.
I only lived
Yeah.
here for 2.5 years. So
Oh, okay. I thought you'd been okay. All right.
I'm not bumped up on my Florida. I still need a Google Maps to get somewhere.
All right. But look,
Yeah.
I think
Know where Gainesville and Ocala are, though.
yeah, in Alachua County. But you look at this league and the interest in basketball. Golly, I mean, look, football right now, we're going to go to January 20th. It's the longest we've ever been. But man, the interest in basketball, when people say the regular season doesn't matter, they're not fans of a really good team. Because you know damn well that all of us, we're watching these games. We even have it on during our show.
Well, it matters if you play in a conference that matters, right?
Yeah, it does. But
And
it's just
that's what
exciting.
we're seeing in the SEC. I mean, we've seen this emerging every year. My problem is that we get excited about SEC basketball every year at the beginning, and then we're sort of like, oh, well, maybe we shouldn't be so excited.
Well,
But
last year we did. We got a little too far.
We got
ahead
a
of our
little
skis.
too above our raisins there.
Yeah,
and
we
I
did.
think we got paddled and showed where the real basketball is. So
Yeah.
I pump the brakes a little bit because it is early. And although it's not so early anymore, it's early before the first of the year. Now you start paying attention.
But look
Now
at the
every
quad
game
one
matters.
wins.
Yeah,
The quad
yeah,
one
yeah.
wins are
Well,
what
yeah.
different.
Right. And that's the difference.
When you
I
have
think
you have 3 or 4 or 5 conference games, then you start now you're really looking at some stuff.
well, and you didn't have the sample size of the teams versus everyone else.
Right.
I think we never saw an SEC ACC challenge like this. We never saw an Alabama go to Chapel Hill and get a win.
No.
Florida winning a pseudo home game in Charlotte, even though Carolina's down a little bit. But you just have it's a different kind of look where it's not just winning, it's dominant wins in the non-conference. And I think, you look at the way Alabama played, out in the preseason when they went out to Maui and getting some of those wins. just the way that teams were able to perform before it's almost like we were waiting on the conference season this year because we wanted to see them duke it out because of how well they had done in the non-conference.
SEC was 14-2 versus the ACC. Auburn got lost at Duke, but what was funny was the Duke athletic director sent out a very stern email to the Duke fans and saying he was mad. Auburn had a ton of fans at Cameron Indoor. Didn't get the win, but 14-2 is pretty damn impressive. I see, like Brendan said, last year the SEC did get, it's great. Like, watch out. Well, this year, again, look at those quad one wins that have already happened. Now, also, though, you beat a lot of brands. The Dallas Cowboys aren't really a great team. They're just the biggest brand in sports. I think Jerry Jones paid $165 million for him in 1989 when he bought him. I know a man that was with him in the stands when Miami beat them 51-7 at War Memorial Stadium in Little Rock. And Jerry Jones was standing there and he goes, "You see that man right there? I'm going to get him to be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys." That was, his teammate, Jimmy Johnson. But their SEC is a great brand with some really good teams. But you know what the best teams are? I still think the Big East plays the best basketball. Top to bottom, fundamentally sound. They got great guards. You can't, until you've seen it up close, street ball in Brooklyn, the Bronx, that there's just the Memphis basketball. God, wow, man.
Oh, well,
I love basketball, Lauren. I love it.
Have you ever seen the documentary called The Point Gods when they talk about the New York point guards?
Guys like Kenny Smith from the Bronx.
Kenny Smith and different guys, but they say that a New York point guard would rather give you his girl than give you his handle. So, it's harder to take a guy's dribble than it is to take his girlfriend if he's a New York City point guard. So,
another one from Everett, Mass that I love. Pat Bradley, the shooter.
Pat Bradley. You go way back.
That's good.
But and your neck of the woods, obviously very underrated hoop scene there in Memphis. Obviously, guys like Penny Hardaway, Todd Day, Lee Marbury, some of those guys that came through there.
We went to play at Arkansas, by the way.
But yeah, they did. Well,
they're still loved. At the time, they're still loved in Memphis.
Oh yeah, legends, absolutely, no doubt. But but I know why you like Big East. You're a Catholic guy. That's all those Catholic schools.
Well,
that's why you like the Big East.
Think about this. St. Peter's over there a couple of years ago, they beat Kentucky. Their coach was only making $200,000 a year. There were 8 players on the Kentucky basketball team with NIL deals in excess of $200,000. So when you get into the tournament, what I do love is these teams that have played together for 4 or 5 years. They've been together, and they go up against a team with a bunch of ringers on there, a bunch of one-and-doners that are looking at their stat sheets versus playing for each other. That's what makes March Madness so much fun to watch. And boy, do I miss John Thompson calling the games. You know what he used to have in his office when he coached at Georgetown? A deflated basketball with all the air out. Looked like an old original breast implant. And he would tell players that came into his office, he goes, "Son, one day you ain't going to be here anymore and the air is going to run out of that ball. What's your plan? You can make a living with your hands. You can make millions with your mind." We need people like John Thompson and Jay Wright. I miss those guys. Lou Carna. How much fun was Big Monday, Big East basketball? Who was the coach that just had a reincarnated Lou Carnesecca sweater? Remember those sweaters he used to wear with the red men?
Coach put I haven't seen. I didn't see that.
Beautiful.
Somebody. You had. Even you had a young Jim Boeheim at Syracuse. Yes, really good coaches. People don't remember this. Rick Pitino at Providence. Absolutely.
Love these guys.
if you like basketball, then that was the place to go. And if you need an MRI, you can go to the newly named Titan MRI and Imaging in Gainesville, Land Lake City, under new management. Once again, still able to give you quality service, can make you feel comfortable. They have larger MRI machines, and once again, under new management. So look for some new exciting things coming from Titan MRI. Hit the QR code, tell you all you need to know about North Central Florida's newest premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility, Titan MRI and Imaging. So we got a little time left, and we can talk about the biggest matter at hand so we can put it to bed. One more Monday for all the marbles, Rob. We got Notre Dame, your Catholic friends there, your buddy Marcus Freeman. I think you're the biggest Marcus Freeman fan now, versus my home state, and who I would say is the favorite, Ohio State Buckeyes. I guess first question, now that all the dust is settled, did it wind up anywhere close to where you thought it would with these two teams looking to make the trip to Atlanta?
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all. I think Notre Dame is the most like a team. They love each other. They play for each other. They love their coach. He loves them, and he has bought into that Notre Dame culture. I think Ryan Day, they circled the wagons after that loss November 30th at home to Michigan. They've got a lot of talent on that roster. Guys like Caleb Downs, who came from Alabama, Quinshon Judkins from Ole Miss, Jeremiah Smith, big receiver. He's from, I think, Fort Lauderdale, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what I think this national championship game reminds me of. One of my friends, great Irish Catholic Stephen Patrick Walsh in Atlanta, went to Christian Brothers High School with me. He said it's going to be a lot like the 92 Alabama-Miami game. And I'll say it could even be like the 1986 Fiesta Bowl when Vinny Testaverde and Miami, Tommy Tuberville told me that may have been the most talented team he's ever coached on. 86 Miami against Penn State. Remember what Penn State did? They stifled Miami. And remember the end of the game, that interception by Pete Giftopoulos, the linebacker for Penn State. So watch out, folks. Everybody's picking Ohio State, but everybody can't be right at the same time. That's an old stock market saying. But I like what Ellis Johnson said on the show yesterday. Veteran defensive coordinator, a long-time coach. He said Ohio State would have to lose it more than Notre Dame would win it. So I'm going to pick Ohio State to win. It's at, 8.5, 10.5 line. Say what you want about Ohio State. They are built like an SEC school. They always have been. I mean, gosh dang. Say what you want about Woody Hayes. Man, the guy was just he just epitomizes football. We know about the 10-year war with him and Bo Schembechler. It's in Atlanta, but it's going to get a lot of eyeballs. And the Notre Dame fans, the Ohio State fans, they're gonna pack it. You ain't gonna have to worry about the locals.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, the cool thing about it is you can drive from South Bend to Atlanta. You can definitely drive from Columbus. You go 70 west. You get to 75, turn left, and you're there. So I mean, it's not hard to get to, and both fan bases obviously travel. But I'm with you, Rob. I would say that Ohio State built more like an SEC team, transfer portal guys, got a man child like Jeremiah Smith. But what I think, obviously we talked about the storyline with Marcus Freeman being the first head coach of African American heritage to play in the game. I mean, to coach in the game, excuse me. But I also like the fact that you got him, and he's from Dayton, Ohio. And then you got his high school teammate. I mean, how is that? Think about that. His high school teammate, Mike Mickens, coaches the defensive backs at Notre Dame. High school teammates from Ohio. Marcus played at Ohio State. Mike played at Cincinnati for Brian Kelly, but playing the Buckeyes for a national championship. I mean, that think about that if we were able to do that with a high school teammate, and look at how far those young men have come and that kind of thing. And like I said, we talk about the black head coaches, and obviously shout out to a lot of great, talented black head coaches that have done it, and assistant coaches that continue to do well and continue to prosper and bring this sport along. But I like that storyline, the fact that you have an Ohio native son, kind of like when Urban Meyer went against the Buckeyes back in 2006, playing his home state, but even a graduate. Urban had spent some time at Ohio State as a coach, but a player, a graduate, a guy that played in a national championship game, couple of them, for the Ohio State Buckeyes, taking his team to Atlanta and going toe-to-toe with his alma mater.
Well, you think about Oxford, Ohio, Miami of Ohio, the cradle of coaches. You know how many Notre Dame football coaches they've ever had that weren't Catholic? One. And that was Ara Parseghian, who came from the cradle of coaches. I think he's Armenian. And there's a Presbyterian sect church in Armenia. It's a cool story. Notre Dame, even if only 53 people from South Bend made it to Atlanta, just the Atlanta area, 22 counties, 6.5 million people, there are enough Notre Dame fans within 250 miles. I mean, I'm just telling you, you go to Mass and the priests are talking about the Notre Dame. There's just nothing. There's nothing like that, and it's a cool story. I would prefer the SEC to have at least one, if not both, of the teams in the championship game. But you know what? I think sometimes you want to motivate somebody or your dog. Take your dog's food away for a night or two. SEC now has missed eating at the big boy table now for 2 straight years. I hate it. I detest it. The fans, the coaches, the players, if they have pride, remember, pain's temporary. Pride is forever. Not my saying, but it's a T-shirt the United States Marine Corps has. So I got one for doing a bunch of pull-ups one time, but I didn't come up with that. Remember that? I mean, Monday night, it's over. But you know what? About 3 weeks later, somebody's going to be teeing it up for spring practice, Lauren. We won't wander in the wilderness long, and we've got this basketball going on, and the women are great, and we got baseball coming up, track and field, swimming, softball. What's not to like?
Yeah. I mean, you talk about that. I mean, the spring is going to be interesting for a lot of reasons. Florida has 5 programs that are in the top 10, including softball. That was probably, I would say, consensus number 2. I've seen they were number 1 by Softball America. I think D1 softball had them number 3. I think the NCAA poll has them number 2. So they're right there. Baseball preseason number 10. See if Sully can get them back to Omaha for the 3rd straight year. A lot of people think this could be Tim Walton's best team he's ever had. I mean, which is unbelievable. Kelly Ray Finley still fighting a good fight in the SEC, which is crazy because when you talk about women's basketball and you got the big dogs, South Carolina and LSU, you could be really good in the SEC in both women's and men's basketball, and you could finish 10th and have a really good basketball team. I mean, that's how, this thing is going. So I think that's going to carry some of the excitement. And when spring ball starts, I mean, all eyes are going to be on guys like DJ Lagway. Arch Manning is going to be a story in the spring. I mean, the SEC will be nothing short of storylines. But in this game, if you were to say, okay, to the casual fan, what do you want to look for in this game Monday, the final game, as this thing closes and Notre Dame tries to get this win? What is the one thing maybe that Notre Dame could do that could really put it, because I think it all falls on Will Howard. Like you talked about Testaverde and I think it was Gino Torretta didn't play well that game back in 92. Gino Torretta,
Alabama,
a great guy too.
But Alabama did not.
Yeah, they were rough. They were rough.
Chad Keys, the big defensive end out of Thomasville, Georgia. John Copeland out of Valley, Alabama. Oh my God.
And Copeland and Curry. Looks like Florida's trying to cut into the lead late in this first half. is 46-34 in favor of Missouri. Be a definite big win for Missouri, sitting at 13-3 to go in and get a top 5 win against the Florida Gators. But like we talked about, Rob, getting back to the game, what is the one thing that casual fan, if you want to throw it out there, if you were writing about it or just talking about it on your show, I'm sure you'll cover it that Monday. What is it, the one thing that may stand out for Notre Dame that after it's all said and done, Notre Dame pulls the upset? What was the difference?
I think for Notre Dame to win, I think you're going to have to get a special dispensation from the Pope. I don't know how they're going to do it. I mean, they're good and they play as a team really well, but they try really hard to get Riley Leonard involved in the running game. He's not going to stand back in the pocket. Hell, nobody's going to stand back in the pocket per se against that Buckeye front seven. Southern coaches will tell you that's a bunch of full-grown men coming after your ass. Yeah, I think it's gonna have to be a game again like Miami, Penn State in '86, Alabama, Miami in '92. Tell you another one: Tennessee versus Miami in 1985 in the Sugar Bowl, 35-7 victory. You see these happen because nobody sees it coming. And I picked Ohio State to win against Texas because of my theory that I use when I bet. You're most likely to get mugged in your own driveway. You're playing in Texas. Bevo was there. I mean,
Most people get a DUI a mile from their house.
Yeah. And so you cannot let your guard down. Mercedes-Benz Stadium is going to be crazy.
It's always crazy.
It is. And man,
we talked about it today. It's like, look, if there's another team that kind of travels and shows up places, it's it's Ohio State. It's the Buckeyes. So,
no doubt. No doubt. That's it.
I mean, look at Lauren. I mean, he's a convert over to the Gators, and he goes to all the damn Gator games. I mean, it's just in their damn blood. They don't know any better. They just
converts
really
are the
fun
best
to hang out and drink with, and they love to travel to games.
Right. Well, and here's the thing about Lauren, and so people know, I am the son of West Virginians. So we weren't raised, even though we grew up in Ohio. My father actually was a Florida State fan.
You're West Virginian?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. 2 times, both parents.
But where?
Charleston, West Virginia, Mountain Mama.
Yeah.
That is a beautiful state, dude.
Lord,
That is a gorgeous state.
Brutal.
But I rep Ohio State based on the fact that so many people, I think, and you've talked about it, Rob, and others, they don't understand Ohio as the passion for the game that the people of Ohio, whether you root for Michigan, Ohio, but if you are from Ohio, the passion that you have for football rivals the people in the South. It's this little piece of land that really belongs, when it comes to football, below the Mason-Dixon line.
No question.
But because of the Hall of Fame and just the history throughout the state, like you mentioned, Miami of Ohio and those places, it's just different.
It's
got a fan base, and it's all the weather always sucks. So that's good football weather. And then everyone and they're always fun to drink with, and there's nothing to do in Ohio. I mean, let's be honest. So you've got the attention.
Yeah, so you go to football games.
What else are you gonna do?
If you go to the Great Smoky,
that's
why I go to football games. That's exactly what happened to me. What are you talking about? I'm not pointing. I love people from Ohio.
Well, if you ever go to the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, half the cars there are from Ohio. And
dude, I go outside of my street in Florida, half the cars are from Ohio.
And there are a lot of rednecks and good old boys in Ohio. I'm telling you that. Everybody thinks that we got it monopolized in the South.
No.
When they do a tractor pull, or they do a big truck show in Detroit, it's a week. There's a lot.
I got lost in a TGI Fridays with a couple of my boys in Swanton or something like that. And let me tell you, I think we ended up at a tractor pull. So I'm going to tell you, it's straight up.
Yeah.
And, but as we've always said, salt of the earth. great fans, great people to be around. Go hang out with to an Ohio State football game, and you will feel like you're in the South. No
Well,
question. You'll
yeah.
feel
Yeah.
like you're at a Southern football game somewhere in November in Tennessee in the Smoky Mountains or something. It's
Right. You been to Swanton, Brendan, up near Toledo?
brother. I know Swanton better than most, my friend. I'm not.
You know it better than I do. I went to school up close by there.
I know
but
some Swanton,
shout out to
brother. I
Swanton,
know some
Ohio,
Swanton.
and,
My boy Chris up in
North-
Swanton, still probably substitute teacher, still
Yeah.
hanging out at TGI Fridays. Love you, Chris.
Well,
Summer camp counselor buddies, man. Gotta love it.
Right. No, Northwest Ohio. Shout out to
well,
Northwest
I think
Ohio.
it's cool. I
But
just
go ahead,
think
Rob.
it's cool about, people don't realize the Ohio border with Kentucky and West Virginia. I mean, those are, the Hatfields and McCoys. I mean, they're tough people up there. They love Ohio State. They love that school. And, when Coach Bryant died at his funeral, Woody Hayes showed up. He took the bus to Tuscaloosa. They didn't pay coaches much back then, but one of my friends' father and some of Coach Bryant's close friends recognized Woody Hayes in the crowd and put him up in a five-star accommodations. And one of them flew him back on his personal Falcon 900 or whatever. I know this. This is a true story. Woody was very respected. He taught a history class, 8:00. You were there at 8:01. You had to stand out in the hall.
Locked
5
out.
Hail Marys. I mean, that's what I love about Ohio State is Woody Hayes. Say what you want about the guy, but God, he that's what we love about football. It's like Buddy
Love.
Martin. Buddy Martin reminds me of just that coach in Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. He's like, all right, everybody line up. Come here. When Buddy talks to me, I feel like I'm being coached.
I'm
being given-
almost 100% positive he hates that. Just so you know.
No, but I'm just saying he's the coach, and when Buddy's mentoring you as a writer, it's like Socrates talking to you about communicating with people. It's just unreal. So I mean, all these
That's the
coaches we
nicest thing
talk
I've
about-
ever heard say about him when he's trying to teach someone how to write. Ask Rick Radley. He said, made me write it again 9 times over and over and over again.
But I appreciate that, having gone to Catholic all boys school with
Yes.
discipline as the number one
Yes,
cornerstone.
we know you're twisted and weird like that, and that's why we love you.
Well, give us before we get out of here, guys. Give me a pick. Give me a pick and give me a pick, a score. Give us a pick on Monday.
Whew. Ohio
Right.
State 24, Notre Dame 16.
24-16. I got Ohio State. I'll go 28. 28-10.
I'm gonna go Ohio State 34, Notre Dame 20,
They don't cover.
and they get the 20th. They get the 20th late.
Yeah.
Oh, it's one of those.
Backdoor cover. No,
Yeah.
that would not be a backdoor
Yeah, backdoor
cover because they wouldn't
No,
be covering.
Well, that's when they
So, and,
cheat. That's the cheating time. That's when it's all
Right.
scripted. Don't get me started.
Before we go, we want to give a congratulations to probably, they argue about who the greatest Laker is, but I don't think it's, well, maybe I'll get in trouble. So I'm going to say A and A, Steve Spurrier, Tim Tebow, the greatest Gators ever. Shout out to Tim Tebow and his wife, Demi Lee Tebow, will be expecting their first child. So, shout out. That'll be the most famous baby ever birthed by a Gator alumni. There'll be pictures everywhere, and made the announcement official. And so shout out to Tim Tebow and his lovely bride, and I'm sure they'll make great parents. And the recruiting will start on that youngster probably right out the gate.
It's already
So,
started. He or she is
yeah, so
lifting
I'm-
weights right now. It's like midnight lift right now. They're doing
there
mat
you go.
drills
Yeah,
right now.
so-
Yeah.
right, no doubt. And then let's give Renstar a shout out. Renstar Medical Research, seeking tomorrow's answers to the health questions of
Good.
today. Renstar Medical Research, Superior Research Facility, based in Ocala, but basically they cover everything from Alzheimer's to Parkinson's to any special needs that you may have, fibromyalgia. Been a long supporter of the Buddy Martin Show, great friends, the Brantley family. John Brantley's been dealing with some issues. So, I mean, not John, Scott, excuse me. And just want to continue to keep him in our prayers as well. But appreciate everything that Renstar does, not only for the Buddy Martin Show, but for the community as a whole. Renstar Medical Research, celebrating 25 years plus. And gentlemen, we thank you. Great show. Appreciate having you guys on.
Thanks for having us. When do you come home, Coach?
I will be home Friday morning, so I'll be seeing you guys Thursday from this same location. Unfortunately, had a family member pass away that lived out of Tuscaloosa, but we're here to support him and his family, and it's my mother's oldest brother. So my uncle,
God bless him.
he was a Tide fan. Don't hold it against him. He actually got to spend some time with Nick Saban on some community projects and things like that. Cool. So he was a guy that had been out in the community and was really doing some good things in the church. Cool. So his community's actually from a little town, Bola G, Alabama. Rob, you might Utah.
EUTAW, Utah, Alabama, Greene County over in the Black Belt. Dog track. So the Bryant's dogs used to run out there.
So we'll be. So the funeral is actually in Bola G, which is south of Utah.
Man, that is God's country, man.
So,
stay safe. And
so a few more days in enemy territory. I'm gonna go pay homage to the Bear just as a football fan and see the Saban statue, and that'll be.
Remember, his desk was up here, and the chair for the people in the room was down there. You're going to be blown away when you go in that museum. It's worth a look. It's really cool. It's really cool.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, we'll see you when you get home. God bless your family, and good night, everybody. Tune in tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern, for more Rob and Brendan on the SEC Sideline Sports. Good night, John Boy.
Yeah, who you got on tomorrow, Rob? Real quick.
Big Ron Slay, SEC Network basketball analyst, SEC Player of the Year at Tennessee back in the day, will be on with us. Jason Caldwell, all AU Undercover. Dudley Dawson, Hogville.net. Vince Ferrara, the sports animal in Knoxville. Brendan Martin, executive producer. And great sponsors, great guests, and unbelievable viewers. Thank you so much for having me on your show anytime.
I'll be listening. I'll be on my way to Utah driving during the show. Give me a shout out. Tell Ron
I'm going to say hello to you in the morning, and prayers for you and your family and loss of your uncle.
All right. We'll talk to you next week, man. See you. Thanks. Good night, everybody.
All right, guys.
Good night.